I've officially survived over 5,000 days in my hardcore world, and in that time I've gone from collecting every legal item to making some pretty big builds. And on top of all that, I've also made some crazy farms. So I've taken the liberty of combining all that into one movie. Enjoy. Throughout the years, there's been a lot of new items added to Minecraft, but they all suck. Like, what are you supposed to do with the pot? It's literally useless. So to fix this problem, I'm gonna be collecting the most illegal items in the game, most of which have never been obtained in hardcore Minecraft, starting with a multi-shot 12 crossbow. But to get it, I first have to go to 3D shareware, and as you could tell, this looks a little different from the version we're used to, but I'll get more into that later. For now, let's find the crossbow, which has less than a 1% chance of spawning in these barrels, so let's get to searching. And there it is. That took way longer than it should have, but we don't talk about that. Oh, and if you're wondering if it actually works, now all I gotta do is transfer it to the main world. And that's the first item complete. And I think now's a good time to mention that I'm starting with the easier items and working up to the harder ones, eventually getting items that don't even exist. But for now, let's get to work on the next item, which is dirt. But not just any piece of dirt, farmland, which according to the internet, it's impossible to obtain in survival. Or is it? Well, if I go to the 2022 one block at a time update, I can actually pick up any block. And not just blocks, I can also pick up animals. And I think you could see where I'm going with this. So if I find a village, then pick up a piece of farmland, I should be able to throw it on my head. Why does that look so weird? Anyways, then I should be able to transfer it to my main world, and I've officially obtained farmland. The next item I'm gonna get is an enchanted golden apple. Try saying that 5 times fast. Enchanted golden apple, enchanted golden apple, enchanted. I give up. Anyways, to get the apple, we have to go to 12W49A, and now we have to get a few items such as basic materials, an apple, and now the hard part. I need to get 8 golden blocks, because if you didn't know, in the older versions of Minecraft you could actually craft golden enchanted apples, and unlike newer versions of the game, there's no gold farms, so I'm gonna have to get it all manually. Okay, so I got all the gold, and now I just need to craft an enchanting table, enchant a book, then I need to use an anvil to put the enchanted book onto the golden apple, and I officially have an enchanted golden apple. Now I just need to transfer it to the main world, is what I would like to say, but I apparently made this world in the wrong version, meaning I can't transfer the item to my main world, making several hours worth of work gone, rendered useless, meaning I have to do all that work all over again. Okay, so it's been another few hours and I got another enchanted golden apple, this time in the right version. So now all I have to do is transfer it to the main world, and that's another illegal item complete. Now the next item I'm gonna get is a barrier block, and I know what you're thinking, but Mello, it's impossible to get a barrier block without commands. Well, if I jump to snapshot 20W16A, which is the first snapshot bastions were added, then if I find a bastion that has a lava basin and then clear out this lava pool, you'll see that there's a barrier block just sitting there. Why? I have no idea. But if I make this setup, then if I transfer the bastion to the one block at a time update, which as you can see, it's the version where I have both my hands, and now if I click this button, I'll be able to pick up the barrier. Now I just gotta transfer myself to the main world, and that's the barrier block done. And before I move on to the rest of the items, I'm gonna make a vault to store all the items. And instead of making it look like every boring vault, I'm gonna use barriers for the walls, so it looks like you're walking on air. Then I'm gonna put lava all around it. Why? Because I think it'll look cool. But before I do that, I need to get a couple materials. And now all I need is 262 barriers, which I'm just gonna do some off-camera grinding for. Whoa, would you look at that? It's all the barriers I need. I totally didn't dupe them. I have no idea what you're talking about. Anyways, I think it's time to start making the vault. First, I need to clear up some space. Then I'm gonna make a fancy redstone door and put blocks around the edges so the lava doesn't spill. Now I just need to put down all the barriers, and finally I just need to put the lava down. And that's the vault complete. But as you can see, it's still empty. So on that note, let's get to work on the next item, which is only obtainable in Minecraft 2.0, which is just a really old April Fool's update. Now to get the item, I first need to find a lava pool and then make a nether portal. I forgot in this version there can be anything in front of the portals or they won't work. Now if I go into the nether, you'll see that there's zombie pigmen holding enchanted signs, and if I kill them, they'll have a chance of dropping them. Oh wait, that one didn't drop one. There we go. But I want an actual good sign, and with there being over 706 combinations, I'm gonna be here for a while. Wait, this one's actually really good, and that didn't even take that long. I was ready to be here for several hours. Anyways, before I transfer the items, I want you to meet my friend. For some reason, when you feed sheep in this version, they get bigger. No, not Mr. Sheep! Anyways, I think it's time to move on to the next item, which is snowy grass. And since it was released, only a few people have managed to get the block, but no one has ever managed to get it as an item. Well, up until now. Yeah, I kind of figured out how to do it. So if I go to the 20W14 infinite dimension snapshot, then if I make a book and quill, write something in it, and then throw it into nether portal, it'll open a random dimension. So if I get another book, then write sky grid in it, a dimension will be made that has every single block in the game. It even has structure blocks and command blocks. So if I find a snowy grass block, then transfer it to the 1 block at a time update, I'll be able to pick it up. And while it looks like just any normal grass block, if I go into third person, you'll see that it's actually snowy grass. And with that, I've officially obtained snowy grass. Oh wait, that was my only piece. Just kidding, I already did a full shulker box. Anyways, before I move on to the next item, make sure to hit that subscribe button, because for every subscriber we got out this video, I'm gonna be placing 1 snowy grass block. So if you want to claim your very own snowy grass block, make sure to subscribe. Anyways, back to the video. Okay, so for the next item, I need to go back to 3D shareware to search for a potion of luck, which has a really small chance of spawning in these barrels. And while I search for it, let me tell you a little bit more about this version. So the reason it looks like this is because 3D shareware is actually just a really old version of Minecraft, which was eventually turned into an April Fool's update, or at least that's what the wiki says. Anyways, now that I got the potion, I want to show you one last thing before we go back. So if I type this word in the chat, a horse will appear that runs hundreds of blocks a second and can jump over 34 blocks high, making it the best horse in the game. And having said that, I'm done here. So it's time to go back to my main world. Oh, and if you're wondering what the potion of luck does, it just gives you more luck when fishing or searching chests. Who would have thought? Anyways, the next few items I'm going to be getting shouldn't be obtainable without commands, but after some extremely difficult research, I figured out a way. But it requires me to go to 2014 infinite dimension snapshot, get a few materials such as slabs, buttons, and finally dispensers. Then if I open the sky grid dimension again, and then find all 3 different types of command blocks, make the same setup I use on the barriers, and finally if I transfer the chunks to the 1 block at a time update, I'll be able to pick up all 3 command blocks. Oh yeah, and I also did that for the structure block, but for some reason when trying to pick it up, it wouldn't let me. However, after a few tries, I finally got it. Now before I move on to the next few items, I'm going to be getting a couple items that will pretty much make me immortal. And there's actually 5 of them, 4 of which make a set of armor with every single enchantment on it. And for the last one, well, that one's a secret. So for now, let's focus on the armor, which can only be obtained in 1.14.2. And getting it is actually really time consuming since I have to beat the game. So... oh, wait, let me catch my breath. There we go. That dragonfly was actually a lot easier than I remember it being. Anyways, now comes the hard part, actually getting the legal armor. And as you already know, getting regular enchanted armor is already really time consuming. So imagine getting a legal armor with every single enchantment on it. But not to worry, I already have a 3-step plan to ensure I get it as quick as possible. And it starts with looting end cities. And the idea here is to get enough armor to get a good starting point, then build off that. And I already got some rockets. So all I need to do is get an elytra and finally start looting. Looting all the end cities took up a lot less time than expected, but it still ate through my supply of rockets. And after only looting a couple end cities, I was pretty much out of rockets. And now that I'm done, let's check out the haul. Oh, yeah, that's a lot less than I expected. So I think it's time to move on to... okay, so the plan is to build an Enderman XP farm, so I'll be able to get the enchantments that I'm missing. But first, I need to get some materials, such as water, leaves, ladders, more leaves, lava, and finally, leaves. And now that I got all the materials, it's time to start building. And this farm's actually really simple. All I have to do is build 128 blocks into the void. Then I gotta make an 11 by 22 platform of leaves with blocks in the middle. And finally, I just need to make the killing chamber. And boom, I'm done with the farm. But I'm also gonna add an enchanting table with some books. And now to actually combine the different protection enchantments, yeah, it's actually that simple. So now I just have to get perfectly enchanted illegal armor. And as you can see, I now have every enchantment. Well, every enchantment except mending. So it's time for... Okay, to finish the armor off, I just need to get 2 mending books and then put the books onto the armor. And I officially have the best armor in the game. So all I have to do is transfer it to the main world and turn it into netherite. But I don't have any netherite. And I'm also going to add the rarest trim onto the armor. And now that I actually have the best armor in the game, it's time to move on to the 5th item that will make me immortal, which is a stack of 64 totems. And as you know, it's normally impossible to stack totems. But if I go back to my 1.14 world and then update the world to 1.17, I'll actually be able to do a glitch that lets me stack totems. So let's make a simple raid farm and AFK it until I have enough totems. Yeah, so it turns out this farm doesn't even work. So I'm just gonna get some better gear and do the raids the old-fashioned way. Food break. Yeah, it's been several hours and I only have 16 totems. So I'm just gonna build another raid farm, smack some pillagers, and that's all the totems I should need. So now I just need to get a Curse of Vanishing book and put it on the totem. Wait, you have got to be... Okay, so after doing some more research, it turns out that you can only enchant the totems in creative, and for some reason that didn't cross my mind when testing it out. So on that note, it's time for the next item, which is an odd one, netherite boots. And I know what you're thinking, how are netherite boots illegal? Well, it's because they have negative 69 durability. So to get them, I first need to search some bastions for some netherite, and then trade with piglins to get a soul speed 3 book. And now that I got the boots, I need to downgrade my world to 20W11A, and I'll be able to get negative durability by just running on soul sand. So enjoy this super cool montage. And while we're on the topic of armor, I'm gonna be getting the most unusual armor set in the game. So let's go to beta pre-release 3, get some basic materials, and now I need 29 diamonds. But I don't have 29 diamonds, so I'll see you in a bit. Okay, so I finally got all the diamonds, and now I'm going to use them to make a full set of armor, a pickaxe, and finally an enchanting table. And now that I got the armor, I need to find a stronghold for books and XP, which is luckily marked by these huge glass pillars. So let's get some books, and now I just got to AFK here until I get enough XP. This is going to take a while. And now that I got the XP, I'm gonna make a quick enchantment setup, enchant all the armor, and if you're wondering what enchantment I got, woohoo, I got the enchanted enchantment. Anyways, if I update the world to beta 1.9 pre-release 4, all the armor will default to feather falling. So now I just need to transfer the armor to the main world. Now this next item is going to make a lot of you happy, since it requires me to kill hundreds of piglins, and we all know how annoying they are. Like, bro! Anyways, to get the item, I have to downgrade my world to a 1.16 snapshot, and now I need hundreds of rockets, since to actually get the item, I need to fly from bastion to bastion, ending every single piglin I see, and for some reason that will make the item I'm getting even more illegal. So let's start bastion raiding. Yeah, so I'm just not realizing how rare of a drop this is. So to hopefully speed up the process, I'm going to enchant my sword with looting, which should hopefully give the piglins a slightly better drop rate. Okay, so it's been a bit and I finally got my first illegal drop, and while it's nice, I want an even more overpowered one with loads of enchantments, so it's time to get back to work. And for the most part, the bastion raiding went extremely smooth, but there was this one part where I went into a bastion and the piglin almost one-shot me. Wait, no. And at this point, I really thought I was gonna die, but then I remembered that every single time you join the game, you get spawn protection, so I just abused that mechanic and killed the piglins. Anyways, after that little incident, I just kept looting bastion after bastion, making sure to keep my distance this time so I wouldn't almost die again. Okay, so spent about an hour and I have 3 pieces of equipment with so much enchantments on it that they don't even fit on the screen, and that's the piglin equipment complete. Now for the next time, I need to go to the 1 block at a time update, and now I need to beat the game. So let's grab a chicken and start searching for a ruined portal. Wait, is that a skeleton using binoculars? That's pretty ironic. Anyways, now I just need to find another fortress since the chests have end portal frames in them. And now if I place the last frame down, it'll make an inverted nether portal. So now if I get a chicken and a skeleton and combine them, I'll be able to shoot the end crystals. and that's actually all I have to do. And now, as you can see, these endermen are holding a bunch of random items, so I just need to wait until one spawns with a player head. And now I just need to ride the dragon into the void, and it'll take me back to the overworld, because in this version you could apparently do that. And now I just need to transfer the item to the main world. And now that I have Steve's head, it's time to move on to the next item, which is milk. And I know what you're thinking, how is milk illegal? Well, it's because it comes from a squid, but let's not ask any questions. Anyways, to get the milk I have to go to beta 1.2, and as you can see, there's a couple differences. The first one being that I'm not hardcore anymore, and the second one is that I don't have a hunger bar. Now to obtain the milk, I need to get some basic materials, then I need to smelt some iron, and now I just need to make a bucket and find a squid. And if I'm in the right version, I should be able to. Yes, I just milked a squid. And again, I'm not going to think about it too much, since last time I checked, squids don't produce milk. Now that the questionable item is out of the way, it's time to obtain a protection 5 book. So let's go to version 1.14, and now I need to get some materials to make a lectern. Then I need to find a village so I could trade for any level 5 enchanted book. No. Ooh, nice. Now I just need to chop down some trees, turn them into sticks, then trade them for emeralds. And I need to repeat this until I get enough emeralds. Okay, so I got a decent amount of emeralds, so it's time to trade for a book. Oh, I kind of forgot that their trades reset if you don't buy from them. Nice. Okay, now I just need to downgrade my world to 1.13, and then I need to downgrade again to 18W22A. And if you're wondering why I had to downgrade twice, it's because the world would just continuously crash if I didn't. Anyways, now I just need to put the book in the chest and finally update the world to 18W22B. And as you can see, the book has converted to a protection 5 book. And if you're wondering why I don't just put this on my armor, it's because it will just give me protection 4 instead of 5. Now, before I move on to the items that don't even exist, there's 2 more items that I want to obtain. The first one being an item that has no name, and the second one is an uncraftable pink potion. So let's start with a nameless item, which can only be obtained in 12W41A. And instead of choosing just any random item, I've decided to use a music disc. So while we wait for nighttime, let's get some basic materials and some iron for an anvil. And now to get the music disc, I just need a skeleton to shoot a creeper. Bro! Okay, so as I was saying, I just need a skeleton to shoot a creeper, and the creeper will drop a random music disc. So now I just need to use an anvil to remove the name. Oh, it turns out the crafting recipe wasn't added in this version. So let's quickly update the game to 1.14 and then downgrade back. And that's the nameless item complete, which means it's time to move on to the uncraftable potion, which I forgot to get from 3D shareware earlier. And just like the other items, this potion is also found in the barrel. No. Oh, nice. First try. Now I just need to transfer the item to the main world. Now, as you can see, I still need to collect 4 items, but I've already collected every illegal item in Java. So it's time for... Okay, so now that I'm in Bedrock, you could see that I'm not hardcore anymore, meaning I could die as much as I want. Anyways, I'm here to get illegal items, not continuously die over and over again. So I think it's time to get to work on the first item, which requires me to beat the game. So let's quickly get some basic materials, melt down some iron, make a nether portal, find a fortress. Bro! Kill some blazes, spend several hours trading with villagers since there's no warped forest in this version, make eyes of ender, find a stronghold, shoot all the crystals, and finally punch the dragon 1,000,000 times until he croaks. It's been 5 hours. Anyways, now I just need an elytra to make traveling around a lot easier, and now I could focus on getting the end gateway block, which requires me to summon a wither. So let's find a fortress and start getting some wither skulls. There's 1, 2, and there's the final one. Okay, so now I just need to make a simple contraption, summon a wither, and if I did everything right, there should be... Yes! A gateway block. Now, before I move on to the next item, I'm gonna quickly dupe these so I won't lose them. Then I'm gonna make a base of operations. And you cannot tell me this doesn't look insane. And now it's time to move on to the next item, which is an item I bet you didn't even know existed. So let's go to 1.16.40.20. Wait, that name's a bit long. There we go. Now I need to summon another ender dragon to get another end gateway portal. So let's kill a couple ghast, make some end crystals, and go fight the dragon. Oh, I kind of forgot about the wither from earlier. And problem solved. Now if I kill the dragon again, another end gateway will appear. So now I just need to make a simple gravity block tuber, and now if I send blocks such as sand or gravel through it, they'll convert to any random item that's in the game. It could even give you bedrock and other illegal items. So now I just have to repeat this process until I get the block that I'm looking for. And it's been about 20 minutes and I already got the block I was going for, which is the border block. And when placed, it lets out redstone particles, but sadly you can't place them in survival. Now even though I already have the border block, I want to keep going to see what other blocks I may get. And continuing here was definitely the play, since after only 30 minutes I got fire, bedrock, and finally a jigsaw block. And if you thought that was the last block I was getting using this glitch, you're wrong. You see, after doing some more research, I've found one extremely game-breaking item that you can obtain doing this glitch. So let's get back to work. It's been an hour and I got the light block, and you may be wondering, how's the light block game-breaking? Well, it's because they're an invisible block that emits lots of light, preventing any mob from spawning. And even though it says light level 4, when I transfer it to Java, it'll become a light level 15 block. Now for the two final items, I need to update one last time to 1.17, and the first item is actually really easy to obtain. I just need to make this simple redstone contraption, then get a silk touch shovel, and I'll be able to infinitely farm nether portal blocks. And with that item done, I can move on to the final item, which is the hardest illegal item to obtain, since it only spawns in a woodland mansion that has the fake end portal room, making it near impossible to obtain. However, I luckily have this tool known as chunk base that helps me locate woodland mansions throughout the world. However, I have almost no rockets left and my elytras are about to break. The rocket issue can easily be fixed by just duping them. However, the elytras are a bit harder since I need mending and unbreaking, and like usual, I resorted to scamming villagers. And now that I got those problems sorted, I just need to start raiding woodland mansions until I find the fake portal room. No. No. Yo, let's go! And now I just need to transfer the items to the main world, is what I would like to say. But it turns out most of the items like end gateway blocks and border blocks don't exist in Java. So I can only transfer the jigsaw block and the light block. Now to fill up the last two spots, I'm just going to use bedrock and end portal frames that I got from a previous video. And that's every illegal item complete. Throughout the years, there's been a lot of new items added to Minecraft, but they all suck! And while that's how I felt at the start of the video, as I started playing older versions, it brought back so many memories and reminded me of how big of a part Minecraft actually had on my childhood. There are 32 structures in Minecraft, but none of them compared to the removed ones. So I'm going to be recreating every single one, starting with the hero branch shrine, which obviously doesn't work. At least I hope it doesn't. Anyways, as the video goes on, the structures are gonna be getting crazier and crazier, even building structures that literally break the game. So let's get to work on the next structure, which almost nobody knows about since it was removed all the way back in 2015. So let's quickly get all the materials for it. And now that I got the materials, I just need to build it. And while I build it, let me tell you a little bit more about this structure. So it was originally added in Minecraft Pocket Edition in place of the nether, since mobile devices couldn't handle the nether, and it was known as the nether reactor core. And now that I'm done, I just need to add some finishing touches to the interior, and last but not least, I need the nether reactor core, but it kind of doesn't exist anymore. However, using some super secret hacker mechanics, I could get one. Okay, that may or may not be retextured diamond blocks, but let's not worry about that. The only thing we should worry about is the next removed structure, which is the ginormous brick pyramid from InfDev. But there's two problems I gotta solve before I start building it. The first one being that I don't know the dimensions of it, so I'm gonna have to go all the way back to InfDev to find out. Whoa, look at these graphics, they look so old. Anyways, now that I'm here, I need to start searching for the brick pyramid, but the only problem is it's extremely rare. However, I'm just gonna hope I get lucky and go exploring. Yeah, so it turns out my luck is terrible, and not being able to run didn't help. But I did some research, and it turns out all I have to do is load into a brand new world, then turn 45 degrees to the left. And now I just have to run for a couple hundred blocks, and if I did everything right, there should be, yes, a brick pyramid. So now I just need to mark out the dimensions using some of the blocks Mojang generously gave me, and it turns out the pyramid is exactly 127 by 127 blocks. So now that leads me to the second problem, which is actually getting the 16,000 bricks needed to build it. And since getting it all manually would take over 6 hours, I'm gonna use this contraption known as a void trader, which lets me infinitely trade with villagers without them locking their trades. And now that I got the bricks, I'm gonna start by making the outline, and this is a lot bigger than I thought it would be. So let's stop wasting time and get to work. There's row 1, row 2, row 7, and with that row I'm halfway done. And the cool thing about building pyramids is that the higher up you get, the easier it is to build. So having said that, let me finish the pyramid. And with that, the brick pyramid is complete. Kind of. You see, there's parts of the pyramid that don't touch the ground, so I'm gonna go around connecting all of it to the ground. And now I'm actually done with the brick pyramid. Now, before I move on to the medium difficulty structures, there's actually two more extremely easy structures I'm gonna rebuild. The first one is the glass pillars that were added all the way back in the beta version of the game. And these pillars used to be the main way to locate the stronghold, but they were later removed and replaced with the Eye of Ender system that we all know today. So with that being said, let's get some sand and smelt it for glass. And now I just need to go to the stronghold and build the glass pillars. There's the first one done, so now I just need to quickly build the second one. And now that I got those out of the way, it's time to move on to the last easy structure, which is the in-dev house. And all it was a small 7x7 house that you used to spawn in. And there was actually two variations of it. The original one was made out of mossy cobblestone, while the second one was made out of oak planks. Also, these houses had 2 torches and 3 chests. One chest contained basic starter gear. The second one was full of TNT, which I could just make using gunpowder for my raid farm. And the final chest contained a stack of every block in the game, but that sounds like way too much work, so I'm just gonna put a piece of meat in there and call it a day. And now that I'm done with the easy structures, it's time to move on to the medium ones. So on that note, let's start working on the first medium structure, which is the Xbox 360 tutorial world. And there's actually 11 unique worlds, but for the sake of simplicity, I'm just going to be recreating the most popular one. Also, to make this structure feel a bit more nostalgic, I've added a texture pack that makes Minecraft look a bit older. So with that being said, let's find a place to build it, and I think right here should work. So let's start by flattening out the area. And now using grass, stone, and dirt, I could start building the custom terrain. The only problem is I don't have grass, stone, or dirt. And now that I got those materials, I could start building the terrain. And if you were wondering how I know where everything goes, it's a mod called Limatico, which pretty much lets you make blueprints of pretty much anything in the game. So with that being said, let's finish up building the terrain. And as you can see, the terrain is looking a bit plain. Get it? Since it's a plains biome? As I was saying, I'm going to be adding trees and bone meal in the ground to add more life. Now the next thing I need to do is add fishing ponds. And since the sand just falls straight down, I need to add a layer of blocks under the sand, then place the sand. And now last but not least, I need to add pathways that go all around the structure. And that's the terrain done, meaning I can start working on the buildings. And there's actually 8 different ones scattered throughout the tutorial world. And since most of them are pretty small, I already have the materials for them. So I'm going to speedrun them, starting with the most exciting one. The broken down wooden house. Woohoo! Yeah, I hyped that up way too much. The next building is a watchtower, which is pretty self-explanatory. Now this next one is a desert temple, and in the tutorial world, it's located in the desert biome. But in my world, it's kind of not a desert. So with a quick jump cut, boom, a desert has magically appeared, meaning I can now build the desert temple. Also, this temple had a redstone contraption that dispensed paper every single time you went in. Why paper? I have no idea. Anyways, the next part I'm going to work on is a farm area, which contains a mini garden and a pen for animals. And I don't even know if you could call these buildings, but I'm just going to roll with it. Also, these pens are normally supposed to be filled with dogs, chickens, cows, pigs, and sheep. But as you can see, my pen has none of those. So enjoy this super crazy montage of me collecting them all. Now I just need to build 2 more structures that don't have any notable features. And with that, the small buildings are complete, meaning I can start building the main one. And while I build the exterior, let me tell you a bit more about these worlds. So the main purpose of these worlds were to introduce new players to the basic mechanics of Minecraft, which explains the fishing ponds and basic redstone contraptions scattered throughout the world. And now that I'm done with the exterior, I'm going to start working on the 6 different rooms. 2 of them are basic necessity rooms like an enchanting room and a potion room. There's also 2 bedrooms, and finally there's 2 secret rooms, one of which uses a lever located in the master bedroom to open it. This room also contains a nether portal. And the last secret room has a lava bridge thingy. Finally, to finish the structures off, I need to add the basic redstone contraptions I talked about earlier. And I don't know how Mojang thought 2 pistons were going to teach people how to use redstone. You see what I mean? Anyways, last but not least, I just need to make the iconic Minecraft logo hovering above the castle. And for the finishing touch, I'm gonna add light blocks that I got from last episode to make the sign glow without using torches. And that's the tutorial world complete. Now before we move on to the next structure, I want to let you know that if you're watching this video within the first few months of me uploading it, you still have a chance to subscribe before we hit 100k. We're closer than ever to hitting it, and it's been a dream of mine ever since the first video I ever uploaded. So if you want to do me a huge favor and make my dreams come true, make sure to subscribe. Thanks again, and I think it's time to get back to the video. Okay, so this next structure is one that most people don't know about, and it actually requires me to get over 10,000 obsidian. So let's get to mining. Just kidding, if I were to mine it all manually, it would take over 10 hours. So I'm gonna make a simple obsidian farm. So let's start with getting all the materials for it. And now I need 3 wither skulls, since the farm uses a wither to destroy the naturally spawning obsidian in the end. And whoa, would you look at that, a wither skeleton farm has magically appeared. That totally didn't take me 4 hours to build. I don't know what you're talking about. Anyways, now that I got the skulls, I just need to make the obsidian farm. Finally, I just have to AFK it until I have enough obsidian, and that should be more than enough, meaning I could start building the structure, which is the obsidian wall from InfDev. And what it was a 2 tall obsidian wall that started at spawn and went out infinitely in each 4 directions of the world. Also, since I don't want the structure to take me years, I've only made it go 1,000 blocks in each direction. And with this block, I'm finished with the first row. This is gonna take forever. There's the second one, there's the third one, and for this last one, I'm just gonna stop yapping and finish it off. With this, I'm officially done with the whole structure. And now there's only 2 more structures I'm gonna build before I move on to the hard ones. That was a bit over dramatic. Anyways, the first one's the monolith, and what it was a piece of terrain that sprouted out of the ground and went all the way to build limit. They also had massive underbellies, which was pretty cool. But besides that, the structures were pretty underwhelming. It was practically just a mountain. So that's why I'm gonna be combining the last medium structure with it, which is the Temple of Notch. And before you say anything, I know it isn't technically a removed structure, but it's way too iconic to leave out. So with that being said, let's start by finding a plains biome big enough to hold the structure. And after a bit of searching, I found this spot. And would you look at that, it's perfectly flat. How convenient. Anyways, now it's time to start building, and I'm actually going to start with the monolith part, which requires me to get almost 100,000 stone. Luckily, I already have the stone generator that makes 72,000 stone an hour, and a full shulker box of silk touch pickaxes that I got for an episode that I never ended up releasing. And 2 hours later, I have all the stone I need. But before I start building, I'm gonna get some beacons to speed the building process up. And while I could fight the wither the normal way, this method is a lot easier. And now that we got that settled, it's time to start placing down all the stone. And after about 2 hours, I got all the stone placed, meaning I could start moving on to the custom terrain for the temple part of the build. And to make it look as realistic as possible, I downloaded the Temple of Notch map. Then I got a schematic of the whole map, meaning it will look almost exactly like the OG one when I'm finished. So with that being said, let's start working on the terrain. And I should already have all the dirt I need from earlier when I flattened out the area. So let's start by placing down all the dirt. Now I'm going to go around adding these patches of grass blocks so the dirt will turn into grass, and you cannot tell me this time lapse isn't satisfying. And now before I move on to the actual structure, I'm going to polish up the terrain, starting with going around and planting loads of trees. And if you're wondering how I got all the saplings, let's just say it took lots and lots and lots of running around. And the terrain is still looking a bit plain, so I'm going to go around spamming bone meal. Finally, I'm going to make the river that's passing through the center of the entire structure, and I'm also going to add water to the waterfall. And placing all this water down is going to take forever. That took way too long. And now that the terrain is looking good, I'm going to move on to the actual structure part of the build. So I'm going to start off by making the path that leads to the temple, and it's really simple. All it is smooth stone slabs, then it has these pillars with dispensers on top of them. There's also a gold ring on top of the entrance. Finally, there's a well, and this well is actually the way you enter the temple. Now the next thing I'm going to work on is a huge notch head. It's pretty much just stone, dirt, and it also has a bit of glowstone. Also, if you didn't know, Notch was actually the original creator of Minecraft, and if it wasn't obvious already, the face of the temple is based off of Notch. And with this block, I'm done with the easy part of the build, meaning I can move on to the redstone part of the build. But that also means I have to collect lots and lots of materials. And while I could collect them manually, I already have farms for practically everything. You know, it would be a shame if I just... Now that I got the materials, I just need to do some super simple redstone. Now I'm also gonna add the rewards to the dispensers, which are gold and diamonds. And that should be all the redstone done, meaning I just have to clean up the area, and I'm finished with the build. And if you're wondering how the temple works, you need to first go up to this wall and drop a piece of gold into it. Doing this will open the gates, and if you're lucky, Notch will wink at you and shower you with riches. But if you're unlucky, Notch will cry and you'll get dropped into a pit of lava. And now that I'm done with the medium structures, it's time to move on to the hard ones. And there's actually 2 of them. Also, the reason these are classified as hard is because they literally break the game, or they're just extremely hard to build. So with that being said, let's get to work on the first hard structure, which is the Farlands. And I don't just want to build the Farlands, I want to build them at the world border, which is where the Farlands were before they were removed over 10 years ago. And to make this structure more manageable, I split it up into 4 phases. So with that being said, let's get to work on... Okay, so before I do anything, I need a schematic of the Farlands. So I've hopped into Creative World so I could start designing. And after 30 minutes, I've cooked up this masterpiece. Yeah, who am I kidding? I don't know how to build. Luckily, I have a better idea, which involves me going all the way back to beta 1.7, and in this version, the Farland still existed. So now, I just gotta walk 13 million blocks in one direction. Did you really think I was going to walk that far? You see, since you walk an average of 4 blocks a second, it would take 38 straight days in real life to run that far, and that's without any breaks. And since I don't got that type of time, I've used some super secret methods to get to the Farlands within 5 minutes. So now that I'm here, I just need to update my game to 1.20, then I need to get a schematic. Next, I'm going to transfer the build to a creative world. And now that I'm in creative, I'm going to clean up the build a bit, then I'm going to hollow the whole structure up. And finally, I just need to get one last schematic of it, and now for the materials. That's kind of a lot of materials. So I'm gonna do what I do best and let future me worry about that. Meaning it's time for... Alright, now that I got that settled, I need to find the fastest way to get to the world border. And since it's about 30 million blocks away, it's gonna take forever, right? Well, kind of. You see, if I walked by foot, it would take 80 straight in real life days. But if I go into the nether, it would cut that time by 8, since 1 block in the overworld is equal to 8 blocks in the nether. And that would make it take only 11 days. Also, that's not counting all the food I would have to prepare. And even though 11 days isn't that bad, there are way faster ways. For example, the fastest a normal horse can run is 14 blocks a second, and pairing it with a nether would make it take only 3 days. And the last normal method is using elytras, but that would require over 150 elytras and tens of thousands of rockets. And plus, there's a way faster way, so why even bother with that? So with that being said, let's move on to the final method. And I don't know if you've noticed, but I've been emphasizing the word normal a lot, and that's because this last mode of transportation is anything but normal. You see, there's this one April Fool's update called 3D Shareware, and this update holds the fastest way of transportation in the game. You see, if I type how do you turn this on in the chat, a horse will appear, but not just any horse. This horse runs 126 blocks a second and can jump 34 blocks high, making it take only 8 hours to get to the world border, which I'm pretty sure is a lot less than 86 days. So with that being said, I just need to use a program known as MCA Selector to transfer this bad boy to the main world. And now I'm just going to make a super fitting cage for him. Okay, I know it's ugly, but I'm running low on funds, so there's nothing I could do. Anyways, with that out of the way, it's time to move on to... Okay, so not for this phase, I need to get the 100,000 plus materials. And luckily, the material list only consists of 3 main blocks: stone, dirt, and coal. And I'm going to start with the coal, since it's the one I need the least of. And since there's no way to farm it, I'm going to have to get it all manually. This is going to be so much fun. Okay, so I finally got all the coal, and it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. Anyways, now that I'm done, I can move on to collecting the 46,000 dirt. And guess what? There's no way to farm it! As you can imagine, collecting 46,000 dirt is no fun. It's literally you just going back and forth. But 4 hours later, I'd finished collecting all the dirt. Okay, now that I'm done with that, I only need to collect the 65,000 stone. But the only problem is, my ender chest is already full with all the other materials. So I'm instead going to get the materials for the stone farm, and then I'm going to make the farm at the world border. And now that I'm done, I'm just going to get a few more items, such as loads of food, beacons to speed the building process up, bone meal, and finally saplings to make the build look better. And now with all the preparation out of the way, it's time to move on to... Okay, so now that we're in the final phase, I just need to build the Farlands, which means the 8-hour journey begins. So let's just start by going in a single direction, and it's actually insane how fast this horse is. So with that being said, I'm just going to go AFK and check back about every hour. Okay, so it's been about an hour and I'm just in total darkness and my horse is also gone, which I'm pretty sure is just a visual glitch since I'm not losing hunger. Anyways, I hope relogging the game should fix it. And nice, it did fix it. Now, even though I got that fixed, we still have a massive problem. You see, the horse won't be able to get me to the world border since it's too fast and my PC doesn't load chunks fast enough, meaning the horse is off the table. And at this point, I really felt like giving up, as using the horse was the only way that would allow me to get this video out before the end of the year. And I was debating just making the farmlands at my base and admitting defeat. Until I stumbled upon this machine. Wait, no, that's the wrong machine. You see, I was scrolling YouTube to get ideas on how to easily get to the world border, and I found this machine made by Metword that uses tens of thousands of pieces of TNT to launch the user hundreds of thousands of blocks at a time without using a single rocket. And the materials list for a singular machine is really affordable, so I'm gonna get enough materials for 25 of them, since one won't be enough to get me to the world border. Okay, so now that I got all the materials for the machine, I need to do a bit of preparation, and it starts with me becoming immortal. You see, since this machine uses tens of thousands of pieces of TNT, any mishap could kill me, and since I'm in hardcore, that's not an option. So with that being said, I'm gonna become immortal by getting a stack of 64 totems, and it's actually pretty easy to get. I first have to go to 1.12 pre-release 2, then I need to get some basic materials. And now I need to find a mansion, since pillager outposts weren't added into 1.14. And would you look at that, a woodland mansion. Okay, I may or may not have each chunk base. But anyways, I'm just gonna kill this totem guy and then run for my life. Okay, now that I'm out safely, I just need to get a stack of wood. And now to actually stack the totems, I just have to drop it on the ground and then spam the crafting recipe. And the glitch doesn't always work, but when it does, they stack to 65, which is pretty crazy. So now I just need to use the same map I used earlier to transfer the totems to my main world. Now the last bit of preparation requires me to get a full shulker box of elytras, which is pretty easy but tedious and repetitive, so enjoy this time lapse of me collecting them all. Okay, and now that I got all the elytras, I'm gonna perfectly enchant them and rip to my levels. Also, I'm gonna collect loads of bottles of enchanting so I can repair my elytras on the go. Anyways, now that I'm done with the main part of the preparation, I'm just gonna make this little contraption thingy, and that will come into play later. So now that I'm actually done with the preparation, I just need to build the machine. And the way it works is I first throw an ender pearl into an unloaded chunk, then I hit the switch and it will start duping TNT. Then I wait about an hour for a good amount of TNT to build up. Finally, I glide into the chunk and it'll teleport me to the ender pearl. Then the TNT will activate and send me flying hundreds of blocks a second. Then I just gotta look down and switch my elytra out about every 25 minutes. Then I just rinse and repeat this process when I land. Yeah, I'm gonna have to be on my PC for about 30 hours. This is gonna be so much fun. There's 1 million blocks, 2 million blocks, 3 million blocks, and with this I should be at the world border. So now I'm just gonna make a nether portal, and yes, there's the world border. Anyways, before I do anything, I'm gonna add a texture pack to make Minecraft look like the in-depth days. And now I can start building, right? Well, no, I first gotta get the 65,000 stone that I'm still missing. So let's quickly make a stone farm. And for it to be as efficient as possible, I have to make a beacon. So now I just got AFK for another 4 hours. Yay! Also, something pretty cool about the world border is if you place 2 slabs against it, then push them with a piston, they'll turn into 1 slab, which is pretty cool in my opinion. And you can actually do this with any other slab. Anyways, now that I got all the materials, I can start building. So I'm gonna start by placing loads of beacons along the world border, and this will just speed things up by 20%. Next, I'm gonna tidy up the area a bit by flattening it out. Finally, I just gotta start building the farmlands. And the building process was actually a lot more fun than I expected, as it was the first time I actually played in like 4 days. So with that being said, let's finish up the farmlands. Now I'm gonna go around adding grass so the dirt can turn into grass. Finally, I'm going to add trees, and I'm already out of saplings. Yeah, I'm not getting any more. So with that, I'm officially done with the farmlands, and they actually look insane. So with that wrapped up, I'm never coming here again since that trip took way too long. So with that being said, I just gotta walk all the way back home. So I'll see you in a couple days. Yeah, no. Remember that little thingy I made earlier? Yeah, so that was actually an ender pearl stasis chamber that will teleport me back to world spawn. So now my friend Lucid just has to close the trap door. And just like that, I'm back at world spawn thanks to Lucid. So, do you have anything to say, Lucid?
Buy my bathwater.
Okay, now that I'm done with the farmlands, I just need to make the final structure that breaks the game. And this one is more of a transformation compared to recreation. So with that being said, I'm going to be making the village illegal using the loads of illegal items I got from last video. So let's start by finding a plains biome village. And this one should be perfect. And I'm actually going to start with transforming the landscape. So I'm going to be replacing all the path blocks with snowy grass blocks. And I actually really like how this looks. And now that I'm done with the path, I'm gonna move on to the lighting. And as you can see, this village is still using torches. So I'm gonna go around and replace all of them with light blocks, since they're the best normal way to light up a place. Now the next thing I'm gonna legify is, wait, I don't even think that's a word. Is it a word? The next thing I'm gonna make illegal is the crop farms. And for this, I'm just gonna replace the wood around it with end portal frames. And now to finish off the landscape, I'm going to be replacing all the leaves on the trees with monster spawners. Why, you may ask? Because I think it'll look cool. But anyways, now that I'm done with the landscape, I'm going to start working on the buildings. And I'm going to be replacing all the stone with bedrock. Also, fun fact, stone and bedrock actually share the same texture, but bedrock just has more contrast. And this village looks wrong on so many different levels. But I'm going to be making it look even more illegal by replacing all the wood with end portal gateways. The only problem is, end gateways don't exist as an item. Well, in Java they don't, but Bedrock is a completely different story. So with a quick transition, we're now in Bedrock. And as you can see, I already have the end gateway, and that's because I already got that in the previous video. Now to actually transfer the end gateways to my main world, I first have to make the shape I want them to be in. Then I could use this app called Amulet to copy the shape of the end gateways. Finally, I could paste that same shape into my hardcore world. And I have to do this for every single house. I have a feeling that this is gonna take a while. Okay, now that I'm done with that, I'm just going to add a few finishing touches, such as replacing the wooden stairs with deep slate stairs to make the village look a bit better. Now, last but not least, I just need to bring in some villagers. But instead of doing that, I'm going to... yeah, these are a lot better than villagers. So with that, I've officially recreated every removed structure in Minecraft. And even though none of the current structures beat the removed ones, we gotta learn to appreciate them. Because one day we'll look back and say, man, I miss the old structures. People think that there are only 64 biomes in Minecraft, but there's actually a lot more that have been removed, most of which people don't even know about. So to see if these biomes deserve being removed, I'm going to be recreating every single one, starting with... wait for it... the first biome ever, the Indev Island. And I know it doesn't look like much, but as the video goes on, the biomes are getting crazier and crazier. Even building biomes that literally nobody knows about. So with that being said, let's get to work on the next removed biome, which is the sky biome. And the material list is actually really easy. So let's quickly get all the materials we need. And now I just need to find a place to put it, and I think right above here should work. So now all that's left is to start building. And if you're wondering why this biome looks a lot like the Aether dimension, it's because this biome inspired the creation of it. But after Notch took too long to officially release the Sky dimension, a mod developer ended up taking matters into his own hands and made the Aether mod we all know today. So now to finish the biome off, I just need to add the 7x7 wooden Indev house that you used to spawn in. Also, since it's pretty much just a floating rock, I'm gonna add some details to make it a cherry grove. And I know the removed biome wasn't a cherry grove, but it just looks so much better. So with that being said, the sky biome is complete. And with that biome done, I think it's a good time to mention that I'm starting with the easier ones and moving on to the harder ones. So with that being said, it's time to get to work on the last easy biome, which is the dirt biome from the infinite dimension snapshot. And to actually get to this biome, I first have to go to the infinite dimension snapshot. Then if I write the word isolation in a book and throw it into a nether portal, you'll see that it's just a huge plain of dirt. But if I go to the coordinates 0, 0, you'll see that there's actually a house here. So now I just need to build all of this in my hardcore world. And I'm gonna start with getting all the dirt. But since getting it all manually would take over 5 hours, I'm gonna be building a dirt farm. But the only problem is the material list isn't too pretty. Like, how am I supposed to get 4 ravagers? So I'm just gonna do what I do best and let future me worry about that. So let's start with getting the easy materials. And even though I call these the easier materials, they're still really annoying to obtain since most of them are redstone and require multiple items to make one. But after 4 hours, I finally have all the materials I need, meaning I can start building the first part of the farm. Okay, and now I just need to get the 4 ravagers into these holes, and I'm sure it won't be too bad, right? Anyways, now that I got the ravagers into the holes, I just need to finish up the farm. Finally, I just gotta go AFK here for about 4 hours. You know, I really need to get better at managing my time. Okay, and now that I got all the dirt, I can start building the biome. So let's go to 0, 0, and I'm gonna start with cleaning up the terrain. And while on one hand, I could chop it all down, on the other hand... Bro, are you serious right now? And now that I'm done with that, I can finally start building. And since making it go an infinite amount in each direction would literally take forever, I've only made it go 250 blocks in each direction. So with that being said, let's start by filling it all in. And now that I'm done with the train, I can start working on the house. And it actually had a decent amount of features, like the farm area, the upstairs, which had this cool little painting of a flower. And since I'm the best Minecraft player ever, I'm about to get it first try. And since I'm the best, I'm about to get it first try. I said I'm about to do it first try. Wait, give me a second. Yo, let's go. First try. That totally didn't take me 5 minutes. Anyways, this room also had an item that said home sweet home, but it obviously doesn't exist in the main version. The final room is a basement that had 3 chests, some bookshelves. This room also had a secret chest that had a bunch of rotten flesh, bones, and an iron sword called Stabby McStab Face. Now to finish the house off, I just need to add the 3 dogs with the different colored collars, the villager named Bob, and finally the 2 signs. One that says go away, and I don't know how to pronounce the other one, but it translates to no advertising please. So with that, the last easy biome is complete. And now that I'm done with the easy biomes, it's time to move on to the medium ones, which there's actually 4 of. But for now, I'm just going to focus on the first one, which is the original version of the nether. And just like the in-depth biome, this biome is also an island. And since I already have a stone and dirt farm, I can start building the island. And now that the island is finished, I can start making it look like the old nether. And I'm actually going to start by adding the nether fog to the sky. The only problem is, it turns out it's pretty much impossible to make the sky look like the nether one without using a texture pack. I even spent an hour trying to do that glass fog thingy with spheres, but I couldn't get it to work. So I did what I do best and just gave up. With that idea, that is. You see, after a bit of thinking, I thought, why try to replicate something that still exists? So I moved to the nether. You know, I should have just done this in the first place. Anyways, I'm just gonna start by remaking the island. Also, if you're wondering, the original reason I didn't make this island in the nether was because it would make recreating a later part of this biome a lot more difficult. But I guess that's just something future me will have to deal with. And now that I'm done with the main part of the island, I'm going to be building the in-dev house. And if you didn't know, you actually used to spawn in this house. Now the next thing I'm going to add is oak tree saplings and poppies, because apparently they used to be able to spawn in the nether. Oh, I kind of forgot about that. Okay, and now that I'm done with the landscape, it's time to move on to the hard part of the build, which is getting rid of all these nether mobs. And as you can see, if I kill them, more and more will just continue to spawn. So I'm going to be turning my game to peaceful mode. Well, sadly, it's not that easy. You see, I have to make this machine called a mob switch, which fills the mob cap of Minecraft and prevents any new mobs from spawning. And the machine actually isn't too bad. Yeah, this is literally it. So now I just have to AFK here and wait for enough zombies to go through the nether portal. With that, the mob switch is complete, and as you can see, there's now no new nether mobs spawning. Now for the finishing touch, I need to transport some mobs from the overworld to the nether, since as you can see, there were no nether mobs back then. And to do this, I'm just going to trick some mobs into going into the nether portal, then name tagging them so they won't despawn. And with that out of the way, the original version of the nether is complete. Now the next biome I'm going to be working on was pretty much the complete opposite of the nether, which was known as paradise, and this biome actually had a lot of distinct features. But for now, let's just find the place to build it. And I need to make sure it's pretty far away from the mainland, and I think right here should do. So let's start building the island. And now that the main part of the island is complete, I'm going to go around using sand to connect the island to the ocean floor, since as you can see, it's kind of just floating right now. And doing this actually took a lot longer than expected. I thought it was only going to take about 20 minutes, but no, after collecting and placing down all the sand, over 2 hours had passed. And I bet you could assume that I had so much fun placing all that sand down. By the way, I was being sarcastic if you couldn't tell. Anyways, now that I'm done with that, I'm going to go around adding grass so the dirt can turn to grass. And I'm also going to be adding some trees to add more life to the island. And talking about adding life, I'm also going to be bringing in some piggies and sheep so they can enjoy that island's beauty. Now to finish the landscape off, I'm going to be adding the in-depth house. And I'm also going to be adding loads of poppies and dandelions, because as you can see, there used to be hundreds of them everywhere. One slight problem though, I don't have hundreds of poppies and dandelions. So I built a flower farm. And I know it's kind of small, but size doesn't always matter, right? Right? Anyways, now I'm just gonna go around adding all the dandelions and poppies. And now that there's more flowers than you can count, I'm gonna move on to the distinct features I was talking about earlier. The main one being that it's always daytime, no matter how long you stay in the world. And I know what you're thinking, but Mello, how are you supposed to do that without using commands? And that's a great question, because I have no idea. Okay, so here's the game plan. So I'm pretty much going to be building a ginormous dome that covers the entire island, and this is going to act like a fake sky for when it's nighttime. So now I just need to get all the light blue concrete, and as you can see, I need quite a bit of it. This is going to take forever! Actually, wait, never mind. I forgot I had one of these thingy-mabobbers. Okay, now I just need to convert all the concrete powder into concrete using this machine, and I'm also going to make some beacons to speed the building process up. And now all that's left is to start building. And placing down 50,000 concrete naturally takes a long time, but I just kept building and continued finishing row after row. Also, if you're wondering how I know where everything goes, it's a mod called Limatica that lets you make a schematic of literally anything in the game. Anyways, 3 hours later, I had finally finished placing down all the concrete for the dome. And now that I'm done with the dome, I'm going to be adding some clouds. And to prevent mobs from spawning, I'm going to be using my overworld mob switch, which is pretty much the exact same as the one we made earlier for the nether, but it's for the overworld. Finally, the last distinct feature was that all crops would grow 10% faster, but I have no idea how I would do that without commands. So with that being said, the paradise is perfect. And now that I'm done with that biome, it's time to move on to the cha-ching biome. And I know this biome never existed, but there's actually a separate reason I'm building it, which you'll figure out later. But for now, let's just focus on getting all the resources needed to build the biome. And the material list actually isn't too bad. I just need some gold and emerald blocks, which I could just get from my farms. And now all that's left is to start building. So enjoy this super cool montage of me making it all. And now that I'm done with the biome, you could see that there's still one major problem, it being that it's too small. But on second thoughts, it's not like size always matters, so I guess it's not too big of a problem, right? Anyways, that's where you come in. You see, for every subscriber we get off this video, I'm going to be adding 1 emerald block to the biome. And the main reason I'm doing this is because me and my friend Zenith are in a sub race to 250,000 subscribers. And I would say I want to beat him, but that would be a lie since I need to beat him. So if you want to do me a huge favor, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Thanks again, and I think it's time to get back to the video. Now, before we move on to the crazy hard biomes, there's one more medium difficulty biome I have to build. And it was one of the first biomes ever, which was known as winter mode. And this biome came into existence all the way back in Minecraft Alpha. Also, you only had a 1 in 4 chance of spawning in it. But when Minecraft Alpha 1.2 came out, it was removed. So with that being said, let's start building the biome. And I'm gonna start by finding a place to build it. And since I needed to be able to snow, what better place than the top of this mountain? And I'm gonna start by flattening it all out. And a couple seconds later, boom, the whole mountain is flat. And now that the area is relatively flat, I'm gonna make a 140 by 140 platform of cobblestone so the terrain can sit on. And now I can finally start building the actual terrain. And as you can see, it was pretty much just the overworld terrain. And luckily, I already have farms for all the materials, so let's start building. Also, something I forgot to mention earlier is that there's a bunch of other removed biomes that I'm not gonna be building because they're extremely boring and have no unique features. For example, the bamboo jungle hill. And as you can tell by the name, it's just a hill with bamboo on top of it. And with that being said, I think you can see why I decided not to build these. And just like that, I'm done with the base part of the biome. And now that the base is complete, I need to wait for it to snow so the snow can cover all the dirt. So I waited and waited and waited some more. And when I thought I couldn't wait any longer, it finally happened. Just kidding, I had to do some more waiting. But after waiting for what felt like forever, it finally started snowing. And now I just gotta do some more waiting while the snow covers the ground. And it looks like doing all that waiting was just a huge waste of time, since as you can see, there's still loads of parts that aren't covered with snow. So with that being said, I think it's a good time to introduce you to the Snowmaker 7.197,000. And as you can see, using this will let me get an infinite amount of snow. So now I just gotta do some more waiting and wait till I get enough snow. Yay! Anyways, now that I got all the snow, I'm just gonna go around covering all the bald spots. And now that I'm finished with that, I need to make the illusion that it's always snowing. And since I'm 99.98916992839% sure that's literally impossible to do without commands, I'm gonna start by making a huge dome, just like the one I made for the paradise biome earlier. And now that the dome's done, I'm gonna be moving on to the next part. You see what I did there? Domes done? It's pretty funny, right? Okay, yeah, I'll stop. Anyways, as I was saying, I need to go back to the Snowmaker 7.719,000. And the reason for coming back is because I need some snow blocks to scatter throughout the sky to make that illusion that's always snowing. And I know it's not perfect, but I'm pretty sure it's the closest we could get to the original without using any commands. So now for the finishing touches, I'm just going to be adding some trees since I totally didn't forget to do that earlier. And with this, I'm done with the medium difficulty biomes, meaning I can move on to the hard. Okay, now that we're in the hard ones, it's important to note that there's 2 of them. And with that being said, I'm gonna start with recreating one of, if not the biggest biome of the whole video, which is the moon. And if you say it sounds fake, I wouldn't blame you since I know it sounds crazy. But if we go to the 23W13A or B snapshot, then if we spend the next 3 hours getting basic materials, making a nether portal, killing blazes to get blaze rods, killing endermen for ender pearls, finding the strong wool, going to the end, beating the ender dragon, and finally getting an elytra. And now after doing all that, we'll finally be able to get to the moon. Actually, wait, I forgot to get some rockets. And now with all the preparation out of the way, I can finally get to the moon. So now I just need to fly 700 blocks into the air. And while I get there, let me tell you a bit more about this update. So it's actually the 2023 April Fool's update, and it actually has quite a bit of cool features. The main one being these prompts that always pops up, and if you vote on it, it will happen in game. Another cool feature is these potions that let you turn into any mob in the game. And there's also some that let you change your size. Yo, look at me, I'm a giant pig. Moo. Another feature was the moon. And talking about the moon, would you look at that? We're finally here. Also, as you could see, the moon had these cows that moon walked. And now that I've shown you this, it's time to start building it. And just like the snow and paradise biome, I'm also going to be making a dome for the moon. And the reason for this is to create that infinite void that we all know as space. One small problem though. The dome's almost 100,000 blocks. Yeah, I'm going to be here for a while. Anyways, now that we got all the concrete, all that's left is to start building. Actually, wait, I'm gonna first place some beacons down to speed the building process up by 20%. And while 20% might not seem like a lot, it adds up quickly when you're placing tens of thousands of blocks down. Now, with all the preparation out of the way, we could finally start building. And as you can imagine, placing down almost 100,000 concrete takes a long time. And I mean a very long time. But I legit just sat there placing blocks for hours on end. And 6 grueling hours later, I'm finally done placing all the concrete. And now that I'm done placing down all the concrete, I'm gonna go slap up some fish to get some sea lanterns. Then I'm gonna be randomly scattering them throughout the dome. And these sea lanterns are gonna be representing stars in the sky. And I actually really like how they look with shaders on. So now that the dome's done, I can start getting the materials to start working on the moon. And since blocks of cheese don't exist in this version, I'm gonna be using endstone blocks since they look pretty much the exact same. The only issue with that though is that I need 95,000 endstone. And if you've ever mined endstone, you know that you can't insta mine it, so imagine how big of a pain getting 95,000 would be. Luckily, I have 3 methods I'm gonna try and see which one's the fastest, and I'm gonna be starting with the pickaxe. And to test this out, I'm gonna be mining for 5 minutes and then seeing how much endstone I get. And after 5 minutes of mining, I got 10 stacks plus 16, which adds up to 656. And I know it might seem like a lot, but after doing some basic math, you'll realize that I'd have to be mining for 12 hours. Yeah, no, I'm not doing that. So let's start testing the second method, which is a wither. And I know it sounds crazy, but let me cook. You see, when a wither's under half health, it goes into its ground phase and just chases you around, blowing up every block around it. So let me test this for 5 minutes and I'll be right back. And after 5 minutes, I got, drumroll please, 1,664 endstone, which is almost 3 times faster than the pickaxe. However, the downside to this is that you need a lot of food so the wither won't kill you, and your armor loses durability really quickly. So with that being said, let's move on to the last method, which is a TNT bomber. And I've actually already gone ahead and tested this one out. And after 5 minutes, I got, drumroll please, 1,152. And I know it's less than the 1,664 I got from the wither, but I'm actually going to use this method since I don't gotta dig those extremely long tunnels and I don't gotta worry about my armor breaking. So I think this method is overall better, meaning I just gotta spend the next few hours getting all the endstone. And now all that's left is to start building. And honestly, nothing crazy happened. It was literally me just placing tens of thousands of pieces of endstone down. So enjoy this quick time lapse of me placing it all. I just realized I forgot to add these highly stimulating videos for good measure. And now that the terrain's done, there's just a few more features I need to add, such as scattering a bunch of these little moon rovers throughout the biome, making some questionable looking pixel art to represent the earth. And before you say anything, I tried, okay? And I can't forget the moon walking cows. Finally, I just need to add these huge copper structures that pop up whenever you step on the pressure plate on top of the rovers. So let's start by getting the materials for it, which is pretty much just a ton of copper, but there's actually a couple other little things too. And now all that's left is to start building. Also, it's important to note that I downscaled them by quite a bit since the original ones are massive. Now with the main part of the structure done, I'm going to be adding some buttons, soul lanterns, and rods, the resupply chest that had a bunch of random materials in them, and finally the green shulker boxes that had the lab materials in them. And now to finish the biome off, I'm going to be building 2 more of these structures. And with that, the moon is officially complete. And now that the moon is complete, it's time to move on to the final biome, which is _generated12 on second thoughts. I'm not saying all that, but you get the point. Nobody has ever heard of this biome before. So with that being said, let's start building it. And I'm gonna start by flattening a 120 by 120 area, since that's the rough size I'm gonna be making the biome. And now I need to mine this area all the way down to bedrock. And by my totally accurate calculations, it will take 3 bajillion years. Okay, maybe it won't take that long, but either way, it'll take a long time to do it manually. Luckily, I can use the exact same machine I used earlier to collect the endstone to do all the hard work for me. Unluckily, I have to clear out all the water manually. And since sponges are the best way to clear water out, I think you know what time it is. Okay, now that we got all the sponges, I just need to clear out all the water, which actually isn't too much. Finally, I just need to build the machines and let them run. Also, I built 3 of them to speed the process up by quite a bit, which might be a bit overkill, but the faster the better, right? Okay, and now that the first cycle is done, I just need to let them run one more time so they get all the way down to bedrock. Also, the main reason I'm making this hole is because the generated biome didn't have bedrock at the bottom of it, meaning I'm gonna have to destroy all the bedrock at the bottom of this hole. And while I would say that's future me's problem, it looks like the TNT bombers have already reached bedrock, meaning it's current me's problem. And while I could use a normal method we all know about, doing that would take literal days, since I have to destroy about 50,000 bedrock. Luckily, there's a machine that I can build that destroys an average of 1 bedrock per second. However, the downside to this machine is that for every piece of bedrock I want to destroy, I need 1 piston, meaning I need about 50,000 pistons. And since each piston is 9 individual materials, that's 450,000 materials. This is gonna take a while. And when I say it's gonna take a while, I mean crafting them is gonna take a while, since I already have farms for all the materials. Well, except for iron. I still have this really small iron farm that doesn't produce much. Luckily, I have a full vault that's made out of iron that I made in the previous episode, so I'm just gonna borrow a bit of these iron blocks. And now all that's left is to start crafting the pistons. Okay, and now that I got all the pistons, I just need to get 5 pieces of ancient debris because apparently the machine needs them to run. Now with all the preparation out of the way, I can build the machine. Now I just need to AFK here until the first layer is completely broken. And that's the first layer done, meaning I just have to move the machine 1 block down and repeat the process. So there's a second layer. I think this machine broke my game. Like, how is this even possible? The 3rd layer, there's the 4th layer, and there's the void. And now with the bedrock fully destroyed, I can finally start building the final biome. And I'm actually gonna start by making a huge purple concrete wall to represent the purple fog in the actual biome. And I've actually already gone ahead and AFK'd my concrete duper, so all that's left is to build it. Okay, and now that the wall's complete, all I need to do is to start working on the actual biome. And luckily, most of the materials are easily obtainable. Like for the concrete, I could just AFK my concrete duper, and terracotta is really easily obtainable since you can insta-mine it. The only material that's relatively hard is crimson hyphae. Or is it hyphae? Wait, how do you even say this word?
Hyphy.
Oh, okay, so I need some crimson.
Hyphy.
However, since that would take forever to get it all manually, I'm gonna build a simple farm for it. And would you look at that, all the materials have magically appeared. So now I just need to build the farm, AFK it for a bit. And now that I got all the materials, all that's left is to start building the biome. And I honestly thought building this biome was gonna be relatively fast, but no, due to all the zigzags, ups, downs, and different colored concrete, it ended up taking about 10 hours. But I just kept placing down blocks and I eventually finished. Now, before I make the surrounding area look a bit nicer, I want to let you know that I've just made a brand new Discord server. So if you've ever wanted to ask me a question, give me some feedback, or literally anything else, this is your chance to do that. Also, the first 100 people to join get a super special world that will never come back. So with that being said, I just need to fill in the gap, and I'm also going to add some trees so the terrain doesn't look so flat. And with that, the final removed biome is complete. And after building every removed biome, I can confidently say that these biomes should have never been removed, because they make Minecraft feel so much more unique and different, which is something this world really needs. There are tons of different types of farms in Minecraft. There's big farms, small farms, and I don't even know what type of farm this is. But there's also farms that are so powerful that require you to literally break the game just to build them. And I'm gonna be building every single one. So with that being said, the first farm is a nether portal block farm. And this farm actually requires us to go to an older Bedrock version. Then if I make this janky looking contraption and use a silk touch shovel, you can see that I can farm an infinite amount of nether portal blocks. And with that farm done, it's a good time to mention that as the video progresses, the farms are going to continuously get harder and harder. Even building farms that require me to literally break the game just to build them. So with that being said, let's get to work on the next farm, which is a lightning powered gold farm. And the base of it's actually pretty simple. So let's build it. And now that I'm done with that, I just need to get some monster spawners, which you'll see why in a bit. So to get them, we first got to go to beta 1.9 pre-release 4. And now I need a silk touch pickaxe, because in this version, you could actually mine spawners. So let's start by getting some basic materials. Some diamonds, which I totally didn't dupe. And now comes the hard part, which is actually getting silk touch on the pickaxe. You see, in this version, there's no good XP farms, meaning the best I got is killing these silverfish. And let me tell you, killing all these silverfish took a very long time. But now that I got all the XP, I just need to choose a random enchantment and hope it's silk touch. Are you serious right now, bro? Well, I guess it's back to doing this for the next few hours. Okay, and now that we actually got a silk touch pickaxe, I should be able to mine the spawner. Now I'm just gonna dupe it, since getting 900 would literally be impossible. Next, I'm gonna use this program called MCA Selector to transfer the spawners back to my main world. And now before I place them down, I need to downgrade my world to 1.19, since the spawners used to default to pigs in this version. And finally, last but not least, I need a channeling trident. However, I kind of don't got a channeling trident, so I think you know what time it's for. Okay, and now that I got the trident, I just need to throw it onto this lightning rod, wait for it to thunderstorm. And the way this farm works is the spawners spawn pigs onto these grass platforms. Then, using a water stream, all the pigs will get sent up into a room where the channeling trident turns them into zombie pigmen and eventually kills them. Then, all the gold ends up storing itself in all these chests. And with that being said, the farm is complete. And now with that farm complete, it's time to move on to the last easy one, which is an illegal villager trading hub. And just like any other build, we gotta design it. Is what I would normally say. But I kind of suck at building, so I'm just gonna permanently borrow the design from my friend Lucid, which I'm sure he won't mind. Now with that complete...
Hey, is that my villager trading hall?
No? Now, I just need to get the villagers. The first one being a villager that sells the most illegal item in the game. And to get it, we first gotta go to the 1 block at a time update. And to say this update's a bit weird is an understatement, since as you can see, I have 2 arms and I can pick up any block. But that's enough dilly-dallying. Let's start getting the villager, which requires me to find a naturally spawning crafting table. And after a bit of searching, I found one. So now I just need to make a barrel and throw it onto a villager. Then, using the same map I used earlier, I can transfer the villager to my main world. And if you're wondering what he sells air. But I also just realized you need air to buy air. So since he won't give me his air, I'm gonna take it by force. And now, as you can see, I'm still missing 19 villagers. So to fill them up, I'm going back to the 1 block at a time update. And the reason we're back is because in this version, you can actually stack mobs. For example, if I grab 2 sheep, I now have a sheep riding a sheep. So using the same mechanic, I'm now going to get a stacked villager, a villager riding a villager while riding a villager on the cat, chicken, cow, and finally a villager riding a sheep. And after transferring them back to the main world, I'm now only missing 10 villagers. So to fill up these last 10 spots, I'm gonna get some villagers that I bet you've never even heard of. So to get the first one, I first have to make a really long railway that leads to a jungle biome. Then I need to transfer 2 villagers there. And after they pop out a baby, you'll see that's actually a jungle villager instead of a normal one. So now I just need to build an extremely long railway to take him back to the villager trading hall. And now that I got that villager trapped, I just need to get the last variation, which requires me to kidnap and take 2 villagers to a swamp biome. And after they've popped out a baby, we now have a swamp villager, which is impossible to get naturally. Also, I forgot to mention that I got 5 of each villager. So with that being said, the trading hall is complete. And with the trading hall complete, we can now move on to the medium difficulty farms, which there's actually 3 of. And the first one actually requires me to go back to Minecraft Bedrock edition. Also, the farm requires me to have access to an end gateway portal, which means we gotta beat the game. So let's start by getting some basic materials, making a nether portal, getting ender pearls, finding a fortress, getting some blaze rods, finding the stronghold, and finally killing the ender dragon. And now that we beat the game, I just gotta find the end gateway. And before I make the farm, I'm actually gonna get an elytra since I'm not trying to fall into the void and die. So now to make the farm, I just need to make this simple redstone contraption. And the way this farm works is the contraption sends sand into an end gateway. And for some reason, doing that in this specific bedrock version will convert the sand into literally any block in the game. Even illegal ones like border blocks, light blocks, and much, much more. So with that being said, I'm going to use the farm for 30 minutes and see what I get. And after 30 minutes, I got some border blocks, blue flames, and water. And while they're cool, I sadly can't take them back with me since they don't exist in Java Edition. So with that being said, let's go back to Java Edition and start working on the next farm. And this is by far the craziest farm I've ever worked on because it's the fastest XP farm to ever exist, which can get you from level 0 to 1000 in less than 5 minutes. And to prove this, I'm gonna be getting rid of all my levels. So let's just die real quick. Okay, and now that I got rid of all my levels, I just need to build the farm. Anyways, to actually get rid of my levels, I'm just going to be spending them on random enchantments, which as you can assume took a very long time, but I eventually got rid of all my levels. Okay, and now with that done, I'm going to start working on the farm, which requires me to collect 100,000 cactus. And I know it sounds weird saying I need cactus to get XP, but trust me, you'll see why in a little bit. So with that being said, I'm going to be building a cactus farm since getting it manually would take way too long. And the only material I'm actually missing is cactus. Huh, who would have guessed? Anyways, while I spend the next few hours getting all this cactus, you can enjoy this 5-second time lapse. Okay, and now that I got all the materials, I'm gonna start building the farm. And as you can see, it's really big. But now that the farm is complete, I just need to AFK for about 10 hours, which I'm just gonna do overnight. Okay, and now that I got the 100,000 cactus, the next step to building this farm is getting 8 glitched shulker boxes. And surprisingly, they're not even that hard to obtain. So to start, we need to get some materials to make an update suppressor. And basically, what an update suppressor does, it forces blocks in-game to skip updates. For example, we all know if we make a nether portal, then destroy a block, the nether portal will just break. However, if we connect this machine to the nether portal using some rails and then break a block, only that certain block will break instead of the whole portal. well. And that's pretty much what I'm gonna be doing, but with a shulker box. And now with that out of the way, we can finally start building the machine. And to make it, I'm actually gonna first take off all my gear, then put it in a chest and fly pretty far away from my base, because since I'm downgrading my world, I don't want anything to get corrupted or deleted. Okay, and now that I've downgraded it, I'm gonna build the machine. And to show how easy it is, I'm gonna do it in one take. So first off, I'm gonna place a composter down, then add some glass next to it. Then I'm gonna place down a comparator, redstone, then I'm gonna add a carrot to the composter, and finally I'm just gonna add some note blocks, glass, rails, and finally a trapdoor. So now to make the broken shulker box, I just need to place a lectern down that has a book in it. Then if I place a comparator and finally switch the lectern out with the shulker box, I now have a glitched shulker box. And the reason you know it's glitched is because you literally can't open it. And now before I upgrade my version back, I'm gonna be making 7 more just in case I break one. And now that we've got the shulkers, I just need to make the actual machine, which is actually pretty simple. And finally, I just need to load the 100,000 cactus into the machine. And I just realized I forgot to get all the coal needed. And since one coal can only smelt 8 blocks, that means I need 12,500 coal. Well, I guess it's time to start getting it manually. Just kidding, I actually have a wither skeleton farm, which I'm just gonna AFK that for a couple hours. And now with the coal obtained, I just need to AFK the farm for about 35 hours. And while I AFK it, let me tell you a bit more about how the farm actually works. So pretty much every time you smelt an item in the furnace and take the item out, you get a small amount of XP. However, if the item is taken out by a hopper, the XP will get stored in the furnace. And when you break it, all the XP gets let out. And that's pretty much what this farm does, but at a much bigger scale. And with that being said, I'm just gonna finish up the AFK session, so I'll see you in 35 hours. Okay, so all the cactus finally finished smelting, and before I use the machine, I need to do a couple things, such as getting rid of all my levels I got from the wither skeleton farm, and I'm also going to make a haste 2 and a regeneration beacon, so I don't die. And now, to use the machine, I first got to replace all the hoppers with obsidian to make sure nothing else goes into the furnaces. And now, I just need to place a comparator leading into the furnace. Then, if I put a stack of furnaces in my offhand while holding a pickaxe, and then hold both mouse buttons, the farm will give me an unlimited amount of god particles, which is the biggest XP particle in the game. And as you can see, this farm is insanely fast, and it hasn't even been 5 minutes, but I already got level 1000, which shows how fast this farm is. But there's no way I'm stopping here. I'm gonna go AFK for a while and see what level I get. So with that being said, I'll see you later. Okay, so I just finished AFKing, and as you can see, I got all the way up to level 20,069. Nice. And I actually got all the levels relatively fast. But anyways, now that I'm done with that farm, I want to let you know that me and Mr. Beast are in a sub race to 300 million subscribers. And as you can see, I'm just a bit behind. Okay, maybe I'm more than just a bit behind. But if you still want to do me a huge favor, make sure to subscribe. I really appreciate all the support. And with that being said, I think it's time to move on to the... And now the time has arrived. The EOL farm, otherwise known as the End of Light farm, the fastest mob farm to ever exist, producing over 2 million drops an hour, and it's super cool. And that's the farm I'm gonna be building, but that's easier said than done, because as you can imagine, building a farm this fast is no easy task. So that's why I'm gonna be splitting it into 6 smaller steps, and the first one requires me to dig a massive 272 by 272 hole. And since mining all that manually would take, let me think, years, I'm gonna be using flying machines. So let's start by finding a place to put the perimeter. Then I'm gonna be marking the area out. And now, before I can use the flying machines, I just need to clear up all the water, since as you already know, TNT doesn't work underwater. Finally, I just need to chop down every single tree. Okay, and now with the trees removed, we can finally move on to using the flying machines. And to ensure that this process is as quick as possible, I haven't made 1 flying machine, not 2 flying machines, not 5 flying machines, but 10 flying machines, which will ensure this process is as quick as possible. So now all that's left is to start running the machines. And even though I was using 10 flying machines, doing this was still really tedious, since every time I saw lava or water, I had to go around clearing it up. But several hours later, I had finally finished running the first cycle, meaning I just gotta rebuild all the machines a lot lower and run them a second time. Yay! Okay, so I'm finally done digging the perimeter, meaning I can move on to the next step, which requires me to destroy over 75,000 bedrock. Let that sink in. I need to destroy 75,000 pieces of what should be an unbreakable block. I got a feeling that this is gonna take a while. Yeah, no, doing it this way is way too slow. So I'm instead going to be building this massive bedrock breaking machine that can destroy an average of 1 bedrock per second. However, the downside to it is that for every piece of bedrock I want to destroy, I need 1 piston. And since last time I made this much pistons, it took over 3 hours, I'm not going to be doing that again. So I'm instead going to build an Autocrafter, but not that Autocrafter, this Autocrafter. It's so fast, it can craft over 3.5 million blocks per hour, and the materials list is actually really small and simple. And with the Autocrafter completely built, we could finally move on to getting all the materials needed to make all the pistons. And since each piston requires 9 individual items, that means I'm gonna need 675,000 items, which I can just get from a very long AFK session at all my different farms. Okay, and now that I got all the materials, I just need to put them into the Autocrafter. Then I just need to sit here and use this mod called the item scroller, which lets you craft items with keybinds instead of having to click on the recipe. And with that being said, I'm just gonna finish up crafting all the pistons. And now that I'm done with that, I just need to make the bedrock breaking machines, which as you can see is actually pretty simple. And with the machine built, I just need to AFK it for a few hours, rebuild the machine 1 block lower, then rinse and repeat the whole process until we can see the void. Okay, and now with the bedrock destroyed, we can start working on the collection system. And as you can imagine, this thing is chunky. So that means we gotta get some materials. And luckily, most of them are pretty easy to obtain. Well, except the 836 hoppers, the 329 observers, the 238 comparators, and finally 79 pieces of blue ice. And let's just say, getting all those materials ended up taking a lot longer than it should have. But now that I got all the materials, I just need to line up the portal from the overworld to the nether. And the way to do this is I first have to get the coordinates from the center of the EOL farm, then divide them by 8. And the reason we do this is because 1 block in the overworld is equal to 8 in the nether. And after doing that, we found this location. So let's start by clearing up the area. And now it's time to build the storage system. And as you can see, this thing is massive. But it's not like size always matters. Anyways, to finish the storage system off, I just need to downgrade back to 1.18 so I can slice this portal so the mobs will just fall straight down. And with that complete, I'm gonna update back so we can start working on the next step, which is building a bat switch. And the reason we have to do this is because the collection system kills mobs with fall damage. And since bats fly, they won't fall, meaning it will just cause an extreme amount of lag. So with that being said, we need materials to make an update suppressor and a light suppressor. And the good thing about the update suppressor is that the only material I need is loads of powered rails. And instead of making them manually, yeah, this way is a lot better. Now finally, I just need to get the materials for the light suppressor, which are sadly a bit more annoying to obtain. So with the power of editing magic, all the materials have magically appeared. And now, before I actually build the suppressors, I need to light up the caves around so bats won't spawn in them. And instead of using torches, I'm going to be using light blocks that I got in the previous video. Okay, and now with the cave lit up, I can downgrade my world and start building the bat switch. And the first step to actually making it is making this huge update suppressor, because sadly, the small one I was using earlier won't work. Next, I also need to build a light suppressor at the build limit, so the portals won't emit any light after splicing them. And now, to actually make the bat switch, we first gotta cover the obsidian so there won't be any light. Then, I gotta turn on the light suppressor and wait about 5 to 10 minutes. Why, you may ask? And to that I say, I got no idea. But now that I've AFK'd it for a decent amount, I can destroy the sandstone, build a nether portal, and if I built the suppressor properly, I should be able to destroy this piece of obsidian, place a rail, flick this lever, destroy this other piece of obsidian, and finally, to destroy the last piece of obsidian, I just need to connect it to the update suppressor using some signs. Finally, I just gotta do that 5 more times. So, yeah, on second thoughts, I'm not doing that. But would you look at that? The bat switch is complete, and using a mod, you can see that the obsidian is at light level 0, which is how you know I did it right. And now with the working bat switch, we can move on to probably the easiest step of the farm, which is me just making the base of the farm that consists of about 2,000 obsidian that I got before I downgraded. And finally, I also need to make a glazed terracotta floor, which I also got the materials for before I downgraded. And that's literally it. That's the 5th step complete, meaning we can move on to the final step of the whole process, which is slicing all the portals. And before I do that, I need to make a huge sandstone platform so it blocks out the sunlight. Anyways, the next thing I gotta do is make this arm that will connect the update suppressor to the EOL. And now to actually use it, I just need to turn on the update suppressor, extend the obsidian one to the left, and build a nether portal. And now I should be able to splice it. Oh. That's not supposed to happen. And little did I know, this would be the most time-consuming problem of the whole video. And no, I'm not kidding when I say I spent over 6 hours trying to figure out the problem in the creative world. But no matter what I did, I couldn't get that side of the update suppressor to work. And you wanna know what the problem ended up being? Yeah. Anyways, now that I got all the problems solved, I just need to splice the portals. And I already knew this was going to be a rough ride, because from what I've heard, splicing all the portals takes about 20 hours. But I just put my head down, watched some YouTube, and finished splicing every single portal. Also, there were some spots where placing the glass would just completely break the nether portal, so I just ignored them. But now that I'm done splicing all the portals, I just need to clear up the area around it. And now, last but not least, I just need to add some glass and turtle eggs around the EOL, which I also got earlier. And that's officially the fastest mob farm to ever exist complete. And as you can see, this farm more than earns the title of the world's fastest mob farm. So with that being said, that's how I built every illegal farm in Minecraft without corrupting my world. Oh, this is how I currently craft my items, and it's terrible. So to fix that, I'm gonna be building the world's largest Autocrafter, equipped with farms that produce every essential crafting material, an auto sorter with every item in the game in it, and finally, I'm gonna be building a machine that can craft over 3.5 million items per hour. And I'm gonna be doing all that right here. So let's start by making the outline, which as you can see is pretty big. And since I want the Autocrafter to look as realistic as possible, we're gonna need a lot of unique materials, such as 7,877 pieces of deep slate, 17,259 pieces of cobblestone. My pickaxe sure isn't liking this one. Finally, I need to collect loads of gray wool, gray concrete, and for some reason, I also need coal ore. I sure hope I'm not just wasting my time to make it end up looking like this. Anyways, it's been a few hours and here are the materials I got to show. And I know it doesn't look like much, but let's just start building and see how far we can get. Yeah, I'm not even close to done. So what I'm instead gonna do is build all the farms necessary to get all the materials needed to build the Autocrafter inside the Autocrafter. Then I'm gonna build the shell around them. And since the material I need the most of is cobblestone, why not start with that? So we're gonna be building a cobblestone generator. And it's actually super easy. The only materials we need are cobblestone, leaves, lava, water, and a couple other redstone materials. And now that we got them, we can build the farm, which is pretty much just these pillars of cobblestone cobblestone with waterlogged leaves. Then if we make this little redstone contraption, the farm is complete. And that was almost as easy as killing wandering traders. So now we just gotta sit here for about 15 minutes since the farm produces 75,000 cobblestone an hour. And now that we got the cobblestone, we can get to work. Okay, so I just finished placing down all the cobblestone, and as you can see, I'm only about 10% complete. I might have underestimated how big this project actually is. So that's why I just speedran making a tree farm. And to use it, we just gotta turn it on, and now we just gotta sit here and place down all the saplings. Wait, why isn't it working? Oh, I forgot the bone meal. Yeah, this isn't gonna cut it. I just spent the last 20 minutes killing skeletons for bone meal, and this is all the wood I got. I need over 11,000. That took over 3 hours, and going from village to village stealing all the hay bales to make target blocks didn't help at all, but at least we got all the wood, and it's actually insane how much this farm produces. But anyways, now that we got all the wood, we just need to place it all down. And I also went ahead and placed down the 1,273 spruce logs along with the 7,388 stripped oak logs. And getting that much stripped logs was not fun. I literally had to make a whole separate machine just to strip them. But after I got them all, I just put my head down and placed them all down. And I also went ahead and added all the other types of wood I was missing to the build. And I really hope this ends up looking good, since I don't know how jungle logs are going to end up looking like an Autocrafter. But I guess I'll just have to trust the process. So with that being said, the next material we need to get is dirt? Wait. Dirt? Yo, wait, that actually looks really good. I totally wasn't worried. Anyways, with all the wood type blocks placed down, we can move on to collecting the last 2 types of blocks needed. The first one being the nether type blocks, and for these I'm just going to tear down an entire fortress. So with the help of some magic, the fortress has magically disappeared. Okay, it turns out I need a lot less nether bricks than I thought. But hey, sometimes less is more, right? Anyways, the second nether block we need to get is red nether bricks, and to make these you need to get 2 nether bricks that you get from smelting netherrack. Then you combine those 2 bricks with 2 nether wart to make 1 red nether brick, and I have to do that 2,978 times. So I built a nether wart farm, and it's been over an hour, and I got a grand total of 142 nether bricks. And after doing some simple calculations, I've realized that it'll take, let me think, way too long. So I'm just gonna use red concrete instead. And with that done, the last bit of materials we need to get are all the gray colored blocks. And this is where the blocks start getting a lot harder due to all the materials I need to get, such as 14,132 coal, 12,502 smooth stone, 9,474 gray wool, and there's also a couple other materials I need, but those are actually a bit easier. So we'll get those first. And this build is starting to look really good. You can see those are like the eye thingies, and you can also see the crafting grid on top. But with that done, we can move on to collecting the final handful of blocks. And I'm actually going to start with the smooth stone, which I'm just going to get by putting the stone that I got from making this farm into this mini super smelter. And while I wait for that to smelt, I'm going to be building a wool farm. And the only hard part about this farm is getting lots and lots and lots of sheep into the farm. Like, why won't he get in? Anyways, the last item on the materials list is coal ore, and I don't just need a small amount. I need 14,132. That's kind of a lot. Luckily, I've devised a game plan, which requires me to transfer myself to the infinite dimension snapshot. And while this may seem like any ordinary Minecraft update, if I type the word ore in the book, then toss it into a nether portal, it'll take me to the ore dimension, which as you can see is filled with coal ore. So now all that's left is to get to mining. Okay, so it's been several hours and I finally got all the coal needed. So now all that's left is to add the 3 types of blocks missing to the Autocrafter. And finally, I'm gonna replace the outline with a more detailed one just to add that finishing touch. And with that, the shell of the world's largest Autocrafter is complete. And this took over 30 hours, but it was so worth it. You can literally see it from a mile away and look at how good it looks. And now with the outside finished, it's time to start working on the interior. And here in the middle is where I'm gonna be building the main auto sorter that will hold every material in the game, which will make getting and crafting an item infinitely easier. Then I'm gonna be surrounding the auto sorter with farms that produce an infinite amount of every essential crafting material like iron, wood, and so much more. Finally, I'm gonna be building a machine that can craft over 3.5 million items per hour. But before we do any of that, I want to let you know that we're getting really close to 250,000 subscribers. So if you're enjoying the video so far, I would really appreciate it if you could subscribe. Thanks again, and I think it's time to get back to the video. So with that being said, the first farm I'm going to be working on is a huge iron farm that produces over 8,000 iron ingots per hour. And I actually already have all the materials for it. And that's the building part complete, meaning I just need 12 villagers and 2 zombies. The only problem is I don't have villagers or zombies. So that's why I built a villager breeder. And the way it works is the villagers will pop out a baby. Then when it's time to go to bed, they'll try going to their bed, but they'll just fall into the collection chamber, which as you can tell, the design is very humane. But now that the breeder is complete, we just need to make a very long railway leading to the farm where the villagers will be trapped and forced to work for the rest of their lives. Mwahahaha. Moving on, the next thing I gotta do is trap 2 zombies. So for this, I'm just gonna make a really long staircase leading up to the farm. Then I'm gonna lure the zombies into the farm. Finally, I'm gonna build the spawning platform and the nether portal so the golems can get sent to the killing chamber. And that's the first row of the farm complete. But since this layer only produces about 2,000 iron an hour, I'm gonna be stacking 3 more layers on top. So wait, you actually thought I was gonna do that again? No. I'm gonna be using the power of editing to do it for me. And now with the overworld side done, we can move on to the collection system, which is just a nether portal with glass around it. Then there's some chests, hoppers, lava, and finally I need to get a chicken in a boat, then put him in the middle of the nether portal. And what this does is it pushes the iron golems coming through the nether portal into the lava, which in turn makes the farm a lot more effective. So now, before we move on to the next farm, I'm gonna be making a floor for the Autocrafter, because right now it's kind of just ugly. Like there's just too much grass and stone just laying around. So let's start by digging out the area 2 blocks down. And if you're wondering why I'm doing 2 blocks, you'll see why in a bit. So let's start by making some beacons and digging out the area. Bro, this is like the 3rd pickaxe I've broken this video. Okay, so I just got done clearing out the area and that literally took like 3 hours. Yeah, it was not fun. Like not fun at all. But now that I'm done, I can start getting the materials for the design, which consists of 3 main blocks. 15,119 stripped birch logs, 6,069 orange terracotta. Nice. And finally, I need 1,905 yellow terracotta. And now, all that's left is to place all the materials down. And if you're wondering what design I ended up going with, I used the oak texture from the Bare Bones texture pack, since in my opinion, it just looks super clean. Okay, and with that, bro. Well, I guess that proves my next point, which is that we got a mob problem. And that's why I actually dug the hole 2 layers deep. You see, since mobs can't spawn on glass, I'm gonna be making a huge glass layer over the design. And having said that, that means I need 25,000 1,000 glass. And if I were to use the same smelter as earlier, it would take over 5 hours. And I don't know about you, but I'm not trying to waste the next 5 hours of my life sitting here doing nothing. So I'm instead going to be building the next farm, which is a super smelter. But it's not just any ordinary super smelter. This super smelter can smelt 10 stacks of items in just 2 minutes. And since I already have all the materials for it, all that's left now is to build it. And now that I'm done building it, the last thing I need to do is get a fuel source. But since getting coal manually takes way too long, I'm gonna be using these carpet dupers instead. Since I don't know if you knew or not, but you can actually use carpet as fuel. Also, now that I'm using these carpet dupers, I'll never have to worry about getting fuel again, since they produce over 60,000 carpet an hour, which is pretty crazy. But now that I'm done with the super smelter, I just need to spend some time AFKing the sand duper. And now all that's left is for me to place all 25,000 pieces of glass down. Okay, so I just finished placing down all the glass and my fingers hurt. Well, they actually hurt a lot. Who would have thought that placing 25,000 pieces of glass down isn't easy? But now that I'm done, we can move on to the last farm, which is a sugarcane farm. And the reason I'm building this farm is because you need sugarcane to craft rockets. And since I'm always running out of rockets, why not craft a farm for them? And the only material I'm actually missing for this sugarcane farm is sugarcane. Huh, it's kind of ironic that I need sugarcane to make a sugarcane farm, but the whole reason I'm making a sugarcane farm is because I don't want to get sugarcane manually, meaning this sugarcane farm is beating the purpose of a sugarcane farm. Okay, I'm done saying sugarcane for now. So let's build the farm. And the first step to actually build the farm is making a huge 50 block long row of sugarcane and water. Then I'm gonna be making this spaceship looking thing, which is actually a flying machine that will collect all the sugarcane. Finally, the last step is... Wait, I'm actually done with the farm. That was pretty easy. So now that I'm done, I'm gonna be decorating it. And I'm thinking of a simpler design and just adding oak logs around it, just like villagers do. Actually, I think I'm gonna strip the logs so they actually match the floor a lot more. Yeah, that looks a lot better. So now with that farm done, we can move on to a gunpowder farm. Is what I would normally say, but I actually already have one and it's right next to the Autocrafter, so I'm not even gonna bother making another one. And that was the last big farm I was gonna make. So now I'm gonna be building a couple smaller farms. And to be honest, I don't even know if you could call these farms, but I'm still gonna call them mini farms. And as you can see, there's actually going to be 4 of them, with the first one being an XP shower. And this will actually help me repair all my tools and elytras without having to fly to my XP farm that's thousands and thousands of blocks away, which will in turn make my life a lot easier. Also, as you can see, I decorated them to keep the same theme as the Autocrafter. So now let's build another item shower, and this one will give me rockets. Also, if you're wondering how to restock them, you just gotta fly up here and put the items into this chest. Also, when the Autocrafter actually comes out, this will be completely automatic, since I can just link the sugarcane and gunpowder farm up to this machine. So now for the next mini farm, I'm gonna be adding an enchanting table setup. So let's start by making a really cool checkerboard pattern by using some logs. Then let's add the enchanting table, bookshelves, some chests, a suspicious looking stack of anvils, and finally a grindstone. And I know it's not the prettiest looking mini farm, but this one's more for utility. So now for the final station, I'm gonna be adding one of every workbench in the game, since who knows when you'll be walking down the street one day and think, I think I need a loom. Now with all the farms done, I'm gonna be moving on to the collection system that has every item in the game in it. And even though I picked out the easiest design, look at the materials list. Yeah, maybe it wasn't the easiest design. Okay, so I just spent way too much time getting all the materials, and I don't know whose idea at Mojang it was to make blue ice so expensive. You literally need 81 pieces of normal ice to make one blue ice, and I needed 900 pieces of blue ice. Like, who comes up with that? Anyways, it's time to start building the auto sorter, and I'm actually gonna start by making the main chest area. Then I'm gonna dig 2 trenches behind the chest and fill them with blue ice. Next, I'm gonna be doing some super simple redstone, which I totally know how it works. Okay, so I just got done with the first part of the redstone, and these sections are going to be the bulk items. For example, anything that I have loads of, like cobblestone, wool, iron, and anything else will automatically get put into shulker boxes, then put into these chests. And there's actually enough slots for 58 different bulk items. So with that being said, I'm gonna get all the bulk items, which I mostly have laying around. And now to actually put them to the system, I first have to rename some sticks, then put a stack of whatever item I want sorted into the hopper, and finally fill the rest of the hopper with renamed sticks. And then I just gotta rinse and repeat this process for the rest of the hoppers. Okay, and I just finished configuring the hoppers, and I actually ended up leaving about half of them empty since I didn't know what else I had a lot of materials of. So I'll just fill them in later. So now with that done, I'm gonna be putting the items I put into the hoppers onto item frames so I know what's what. Then I'm gonna be making a bubble column. And finally, I'm gonna be doing some more simple redstone. Okay, so I just got done with most of the redstone, meaning it's time to start filling the item sorters. And it's important to note that I'm assigning each item in the game to a different category. For example, instead of having 16 different chests, one for each different colored concrete block, I'm gonna have them all filter into one single double chest. And the benefits of doing this is that it saves me a ton and a ton and a ton of building materials. And it also makes the storage system a lot smaller. So with that being said, we need to start by renaming 100 stacks of sticks. No, not my precious levels. Anyways, now that we got the sticks, I just need to get into this chest, then put 2 non-stackable items in it. Next, I need to put a stack plus 5 sticks in it. And finally, I need to fill the rest of the chest with sticks. And how it works is, I have to take out a stick, then replace it with the item I want filtered. So with that being said, let's spend some time filling the rest of the chest with sticks. And now with that out of the way, I can start working on the first chest, which is going to be the deep slate chest. So let's start by getting lots and lots of deep slate. Then we can make all the different types of deep slate items, such as polished deep slate slabs, polished deep slate stairs, polished deep slate walls, deep slate bricks, and there's also a bunch of other deep slate items, but I think you've heard me say deep slate enough. So now with the deep slate section done, we can start moving on to the other categories. And since I've been playing this world for almost 5,000 days already, I actually already have a huge stockpile of items. So and that's all the chests sorted. And most of the items were really easy, like the different types of wood and different colored dyes. But there were also some scary ones, like the deep dark items. Man, I never want to go there again. But after spending way too much hours grinding, I have finally finished the item filters. Man, that took so long, I feel like an old man. I should probably go touch some grass now. Anyways, now that I got all the items for the auto sorter, I just need to finish up the redstone part of it. And now I need 5 allays. But as you might already know, I don't got 5 allays. On second thoughts, how do you even get allays? So I did some research, and it turns out you get allays from pillager outposts. And after a bit of searching, I found an outpost with allays. So now I just gotta walk them several thousand blocks back to my base. That's gonna be fun. Also, I decided to name the allay Robert. Yeah, Robert's my friend now. Anyways, after getting back to my base, I stuffed Robert into a hole, so now I just gotta breed him. How do you breed allays again? So I searched it up and it turns out to breed allays, you need to first play some swaggy music. Then you need to feed them some amethyst shards. And doing that will duplicate him. So with that out of the way, we just need to do the final bit of redstone. And that's the auto sorter complete. And how it works is you just dump your whole inventory into this chest, then wait a bit. And after waiting a bit, you have to wait a bit longer. And now, only now, if I did everything right, yes, it works. The items get automatically sorted. Let's go. You know, I was like 10% sure that would actually work. But with that done, we can move on to the machine that crafts over 3 million items per hour. And I actually already have all the materials for it. Well, all the materials except honey. So let's wait till nighttime, grab some bee nests, destroy some blocks, place a chest and some hoppers down. Then let's place down some mud, flowers, building blocks, redstone, and finally the bee nest. And that's the honey farm complete. So now I just gotta AFK the farm till I get enough honey. Also, now that I got honey, I'm gonna be making a 4x4 piston door, so these annoying mobs will leave me alone. And now with that out of the way, I can finally move on to the machine. And building it is actually surprisingly easy. It's pretty much just some packed ice, glass, sea pickles. Man, I love pickles. And finally, a bit of simple redstone. Scratch that. I also need to add some chests. But with that, the whole machine is complete. So now to actually use it, I first have to come up here and put items into these chests. And each chest represents a space in the crafting menu, which is why there's 9 chests. And after placing all the items into the chests, you have to come down here and flick this lever. Then using a mod called item scroller, I just have to hit a keybind on my keyboard and all the items will automatically be crafted. And as you can see, it's insanely fast. Also, if you're wondering what I was crafting, it was buttons. Why buttons, you may ask? I don't know, that's a good question. But if for some reason I ever need thousands and thousands and thousands of buttons, at least I'll have them. So with the world's largest Autocrafter complete, I'll never have to craft my items like this again. Also, if you enjoyed this episode, YouTube thinks you'll like the ones on screen. I'm not gonna lie, I think I made this a bit too big.